You're watching Just the News. I'm Amita Balachandra. Let's get straight to our top story. We take a look at what's happening in the budget session that started today. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has tabled the economic survey a day ahead of the union budget. The survey expects GDP to grow by 9.2% this year and 8 to 8.5% by 2022-23. The economy had contracted by 7.3% in 2020-21 on account of the pandemic. Now, the survey projected, and I quote, growth in 22-23 will be supported by widespread vaccine coverage, gains from supply-side reforms, an easing of regulations, robust export growth, and availability of fiscal space to ramp up capital spending, end quote. Now, the survey also notes that almost all indicators show that the economic impact of the second wave in the first quarter was much smaller than that experienced during the full lockdown phase in 2020-21, even though the health impact was more severe. Now, I'll also tell you a couple of highlights from this economic survey. Economic activity has recovered to pre-pandemic level. Economy is well placed to take on challenges in the 2022-23 year is what this survey says. Growth projections based on oil price projection of USD 70 to 75 dollars per barrel next fiscal against current price of $90 per barrel. Air India privatization is key in boosting government's privatization drive. It also says that climate finance will remain critical to successful climate action for India to achieve its net zero carbon emission target by 2070. That's what India had said. Crop diversification towards oilseeds, pulses and horticulture needs to be given priority. India's total exports are expected to grow by 16.5% in 21-22, surpassing the pre-pandemic level. Also, imports are expected to grow by 29.4% in 21-22 is what this survey says. In the meantime, according to the Economic Survey 21-22, the COVID pandemic has had a significant impact on the Indian education system, and there has been a decline in the enrollment of rural children in the age group of 6 to 14 years in schools. Now, due to the limitation of non-availability of official data, the survey was based on alternate sources of smaller studies by the government and citizen-led non-governmental agencies like the Annual Status of Education Report. Meanwhile, Principal Economic Advisor Sanjeev Sanyal has said that there has been a revival in economic activity to pre-pandemic levels in 21-22 as reflected in national accounts and high-frequency data. He also went on to say that the government consumption has been reasonably strong, but private consumption still lags pre-pandemic level. Also, growth in 22-23 will be driven by widespread vaccinations and other things as well. Also in the news, the Election Commission of India today extended the ban on roadshows and political rallies in all poll-bound states till the 11th of February. Now, however, it has granted some more relaxations to the restrictions that have already been in place. It's increased the upper limit for door-to-door campaigns to 20 people instead of the current 10. And also enhanced the cap on indoor meetings of political parties to 500 from the existing 300 number. Now, in designated open spaces, a maximum of 1,000 people will be allowed from the earlier 500 people who are permitted. And the rule, of course, is applicable from the 1st of February for all phases of the 5 assembly elections. On to COVID numbers at this point. India has reported 2.09 lakh new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. So there is a slight dip, a 10% dip in new COVID cases when compared to yesterday's number. The active caseload is now over 18 lakh. Kerala has reported 42,154 new COVID cases, a slight dip from yesterday's number. It's been reporting over 50,000 cases in the last couple of days as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the numbers come in over the next couple of days. The total positivity rate has now reduced to 42.2%. Karnataka has reported 24,172 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, it had reported more than 28,000 cases. Mumbai has reported 960 new COVID cases. That's below 1,000 of the last couple of days. It had been reporting a little over 1,000 new cases. On Sunday, the Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia has said that 75% of the eligible population in India is now fully vaccinated against COVID. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also congratulated fellow citizens for this, what he called as momentous feat. Over 166 crore vaccine doses have been administered so far. On to news, states which are relaxing COVID restrictions right now, starting off with Himachal Pradesh, which has said that it has decided to restore 6-day work week for employees with immediate effect. Offices can now work at 100% capacity with pregnant women, and persons with disabilities can work from home is what it says. Night curfew, however, will remain in place. Meanwhile, in West Bengal, the Chief Minister has announced that schools for classes 8 to 12, colleges and universities can reopen from the 3rd of February in the state. In Madhya Pradesh, the government has decided that schools will be reopened from the 1st of February. All classes from classes 1 to 12 will be conducted with 50% attendance. Let's now take a look at what else is making news across the country away from COVID. Anganwadi workers and helpers in Delhi went on an indefinite strike outside Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's residence on Monday, demanding a salary hike to account for increased workload and inflation. Now, the Anganwadi workers had also protested on the 6th of January 2022, raising the same demands. In a statement, the Delhi State Anganwadi Workers and Helpers Union said, and I quote, "In a dialogue with the Delhi Women and Child Development Minister, we were assured that our demands would be addressed within a week, but even after a period of 4 months, no action has been taken. The present honorarium of Anganwadi workers and helpers in Delhi is 9,678 rupees and 4,839 rupees respectively. The last announcement for increment was made by the central government on 11th of September 2018. We have not received the declared amount yet," end quote. They said that despite inflation, wages of workers are yet to be increased. Also in the news, following BJP's announcement of candidates for the elections in Manipur, NDTV has reported that BJP supporters burnt effigies of Prime Minister Modi and Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh and raised slogans against them on Sunday. Now, party offices were ransacked in various parts of the state and protesters gathered in several areas with placards. Security has been stepped up around the headquarters of the BJP in Impal. According to NDTV, a few party functionaries who were hoping to get tickets have resigned, though the exact number remained unclear. At least 10 former Congress leaders who joined the BJP were given tickets as the BJP announced that it would contest all 60 seats in the Manipur Assembly elections, releasing a list of its candidates. Meanwhile, the Editors Guild of India has written to the probe panel instituted by the Supreme Court, asking it to inquire into the claims made by the recent New York Times report on Pegasus. Now, if you remember, the New York Times report had said that the Indian government bought Israeli spyware Pegasus in 2017 as part of a $2 billion package for weapons, including a missile system. Now, in a press statement, the Guild has said that it is noted with deep concern the claims made in the report that the Indian and Israeli governments, and I quote, had agreed on the sale of a package of sophisticated weapons and intelligence gear worth roughly $2 billion, with Pegasus and a missile system as the centerpieces, end quote. Now, until now, neither the Indian government nor the Israeli government has admitted to these allegations. In fact, the center has not responded as yet to the report by the New York Times. An update now in the Shahdara rape assault case. Days after a young woman was abducted, allegedly gang raped by her neighbors and paraded on the streets in Shahdara, the police have booked the accused in another case of molestation and assault on a complaint by the woman's younger sister, who alleged that she was also sexually harassed and trashed by them. Till now, the police have arrested a man, 8 women and apprehended 3 boys, all from the same family, in connection with the gang rape case. In the meantime, there have been a lot of rumors about this survivor, and speaking to the Quint, DCP of Shahdara has said that the social media posts are false and the girl is safe. In a video statement, he also clarified that some people are trying to give the incident a communal angle by sharing the name of the survivor, but the information is blatantly false. Moving on to environment news right now, according to a report by Greenpeace India analyzing the Central Pollution Control Board, 10 major cities of southern India revealed that average pollution levels in the cities far exceed the latest WHO guidelines. Now, the report is titled, "Are Cities in South India Breathing Safe Air?" And the situation in Bengaluru and other South Indian cities is quite alarming. Pollution is suspected to have claimed at least 12,000 lives in just the year 2020. Air pollution data from these 10 cities, and these 10 cities are Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Chennai, Amravati, Visakhapatnam, Kochi, Mangalore, Puducherry, Coimbatore and Mysore, and they were selected and analyzed based on the availability of data, population and monitoring station networks. It was found that despite lockdowns and subsequent reduction in economic activities, the annual average values of PM 2.5 and PM 10 levels exceeded the revised standards that have been released by the WHO on many folds. News now coming in from across the globe. The UN Security Council held a meeting today to discuss the Ukraine crisis. Now, the US has vowed to hold Russia to account as it works with NATO allies to beef up sanctions if Russia invades its neighbor. Now, the US and Britain on Sunday flagged new and devastating economic sanctions against Russia as Washington and its allies step up efforts to deter any invasion of Ukraine. So far, Russia has maintained that it does not plan on doing so. With tension soaring, the US said that it was prepared to push back against any disinformation Moscow put forward in what was expected to be one of the most closely watched UN sessions in years. Remember, Russia has said that it does not plan on invading Ukraine, but there are reports that it has got over 1 lakh Russian troops on the border. Meanwhile, Kyiv has urged Russia to pull back its troops from Ukraine's borders and continue dialogue with the West if it's serious about de-escalating the matter. Now, Kyiv's foreign minister said on Sunday, and I quote, "If Russian officials are serious when they say that they don't want a new war, Russia must continue diplomatic engagement and pull back military forces it amassed along Ukraine's borders and in the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine," end quote. Meanwhile, the head of NATO said Europe needed to diversify its energy supplies as Britain warned that it was highly likely that Russia, a major natural gas supplier, was looking to invade Ukraine. Also in the news, North Korea has released photographs which it said were taken from its most powerful missile launch in 5 years. Now, this comes after North Korea confirmed on Monday that it had tested a Hwasong 12 intermediate range ballistic missile. At its full power, it can travel thousands of miles, and South Korea and Japan were both the first to report the launch on Sunday after detecting it in their anti-missile systems. North Korea has conducted 7 missile launches in the last 1 month, which has been condemned by several nations, including the US and South Korea. On to sports news right now. The story that was headlines yesterday all over. Rafael Nadal has defeated world number 2 Daniel Medvedev in the final to win his second Australian Open title 13 years after winning his first. Now, the match went on for nearly 5.5 hours. The 35-year-old overtook Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic to clinch the most number of men's singles Grand Slam titles at 21. He's now called the male GOAT, or greatest of all time. And one piece of good news before we wrap up things here on this bulletin, it's also sports news. The Indian women's hockey team beat China 7-1 on their Pro League debut in Oman today. Now, India held a 2-goal lead till the 4th quarter before a hail of goals gave them a convincing victory. Sharmila Devi was named the player of the match. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching.